Do you know what was the most beautiful and tragic moment in the entire Hades saga? I'm not talking about cosmic powers or golden armor shining bright. I'm talking about a man considered the most beautiful among all saints choosing to die for a boy he barely knew. Pisces Aphrodite, the one so many judged as cold and arrogant, proved that true beauty lives in sacrifice. And man, this scene breaks me every single time. Think about the context for a second. Aphrodite was always a controversial saint. Remember the Pisces temple? That deadly garden full of poisonous roses? The guy literally created a field of death using flowers. During the Battle of the 12 Houses, he was introduced as someone cruel, willing to kill without hesitation. A lot of people hated him back then. But then the Hades Saga came along and everything changed. When the resurrected gold saints invade the sanctuary, Aphrodite appears alongside Death Mask. These two were always seen as the most morally questionable saints, the ones who stained their armors with dubious choices, and now they were back, supposedly serving Hades. But nothing is what it seems in this story. Andromeda Shun, the gentlest saint of all, ends up becoming the vessel for Hades himself. Just imagine the weight of that. The boy who refused to hurt any living being now carried within him the god of death. The irony is so cruel it hurts just thinking about it. And it's exactly at this moment that Aphrodite reveals who he really always was. You see, throughout the entire series, Aphrodite was judged by his appearance. For being too beautiful, for being too vain, for seeming too fragile to be a gold saint. People looked at him and saw only the surface. The roses, the flowing blue hair, that elegant fighting style. Nobody could see the heart behind the mask. When Hades awakens inside Shun, something extraordinary happens. Aphrodite, the one who supposedly didn't care about anyone but himself, places himself between the god of death and his victim. He knew he didn't stand a chance. Zero. No possibility of victory against one of the three great gods of Olympus, and yet he went anyway. You know what gives me chills about this scene? The silence before the attack. That second where Aphrodite looks at Shun and probably sees something he recognizes. Maybe the purity he himself lost at some point. Maybe the innocence that the life of a saint ripped away from him. Or maybe just a boy who deserved a chance to live. Aphrodite's roses were always his most lethal weapons. Piranha rose, royal demon rose, bloody rose. Each one deadlier than the last, flowers that could destroy entire armies. But against Hades, they seemed like petals in the wind. Fragile, insignificant, too beautiful for such a brutal battlefield. And maybe that was exactly the point. Aphrodite fought knowing he would lose. Every blow he struck was a declaration. Every rose he threw was a promise, not of victory, but of resistance, of humanity, of love in its purest and most desperate form. Kurumada created something brilliant in this construction, the most beautiful saint dying for the noblest cause. Vanity transformed into vulnerability. Arrogance revealed as emotional armor. Everything we thought we knew about Aphrodite crumbled in that moment, and from the ruins emerged someone completely different. Shun couldn't even react properly. The boy was there, fighting against his own possessed body, watching a gold saint sacrifice himself for him. And it wasn't just any saint, it was precisely the one everyone thought incapable of caring about anything beyond his own reflection. Beauty became a shield. Think about this metaphor for a second. Throughout his entire life, Aphrodite used his appearance as a weapon, to intimidate, to confuse, to seduce enemies to certain death. But in the final moment, that same beauty transformed into something completely different, into protection, into sacrifice, into love. And you know what hurts the most about this whole story? Aphrodite probably knew that nobody would remember him as a hero, that his death would be just another one on the long list of fallen saints, that people would keep talking about the poisonous roses and the deadly garden, not the heart that beat behind it all. But he went anyway. That's real courage. Not the loud courage of someone seeking applause, The quiet courage of someone who does what's right knowing they'll never get credit. The courage to die for someone who might not even understand the magnitude of the gift they're receiving. Death Mask watched everything. Another stained saint, another warrior with a dubious past. And in that moment, watching his companion fall, something changed in him too, as if Aphrodite's sacrifice had lit a flame that had been extinguished for a long time. The Gold Saints have always been about overcoming. Saga fighting against his own darkness, Shura carrying the guilt over Iolos, Camus choosing coldness to avoid feeling pain. Each of them had their own invisible chains. But Aphrodite? His chains were made of others' judgment, of gazes that only saw the surface. And he freed himself by dying. There's no more liberating scene than this in Saint Seiya. The moment where Aphrodite could finally be who he always was inside. Not the vain saint, not the cruel warrior. Just a man willing to give everything for something greater than himself. Shun would eventually be saved. The other saints would continue the fight against Hades. The bloody war would come to an end. But that specific moment, where a man too beautiful for this world chose to die for a boy too gentle for this universe, remained etched in every fan's memory. Because true beauty isn't in the face. It's in the choices we make when nobody's watching, in the battles we fight knowing we'll lose, in the sacrifices we offer without expecting anything in return. Pisces Aphrodite died as he lived, surrounded by roses, shining brighter than any star, and finally, being seen for who he truly was. When you look in the mirror, what do you see? The mask you show the world, or the truth you hide even from yourself?